Kathleen Wynne dodges the questions. I'm Brian Lilly with the Rebel.media. Her campaign manager has received almost $900,000 in contracts from her office alone in 1 year. A previous story from the Globe and Mail shows that David Hurley and his Gandalf group also received $1.1 million in contracts from the Liberals' Caucus's Services Fund. So almost $2 million in contracts from closely connected political allies to her campaign manager. But Ontario Premier Kathleen Wynne doesn't see a problem here, or think she actually has to answer questions. After her office provided vague answers to questions from the Rebel, Wynne was questioned about this very issue during question period at Queen's Park.
David Hurley is being rewarded for his political work with nearly $1 million of taxpayers' money. Mr. Speaker, does the Premier have an ounce of ethics left? Does the Premier think it is acceptable to hand out $1 million worth of contracts to her Liberal pals and cronies? Does the Premier think that's acceptable?
Thank you. Be seated, please. Be seated, please. Thank you. Premier.
Very much, Mr. Speaker, and the member opposite will know that market research and polling companies have been used by governments traditionally, Mr. Speaker. In fact, there are at least 6 other companies, Mr. Speaker, that have contracts: Forum Research, Ipsos Reid, Strategic Council, Ecos Research, Environics, Harris Decima, all have contracts with government, Mr. Speaker.
Like I asked her office via email, Brown asked the Premier to tell the people of Ontario how many contracts have gone to Hurley and his firm and from which government ministries. Which ministries authorized them? Wynne ignored the question and instead talked about other polling firms that get contracts from the government. But let me point out once again, while other polling firms bid on and receive polling contracts from bureaucrats in government departments, Hurley and Gandalf Group received close to $2 million from the 2 most political offices at Queen's Park, Caucus Services and the Premier's office. That's before we get into any other departments, and I'm told there are many. Which departments? We don't know. The government is not saying, and neither is the Gandalf Group. Alex Swan, Vice President at Gandalf Group, told me via email they would not comment on that question or any other questions about their work. Quote, "We provide research services and the research data essentially belongs to our clients. We generally don't speak to work they have commissioned or what the research is informing as a matter of policy. So I have to refer you to the clients at this time." Well, that would be great if the client, the Government of Ontario, were talking about how they spend tax dollars. But they're not. In fact, I've sent several follow-up questions to the Premier's office trying to get answers and so far have not received any real reply. In fact, in response to 4 specific questions, the Premier's spokesperson, Jennifer Beaudry, sent me a transcript of question period. None of my questions were answered from that transcript. So let me read you the questions. I said, can you tell me what exactly Ontario taxpayers received for the nearly $900,000 in research contracts awarded to Mr. Hurley and Gandalf Group? Are these polls public? Is there a record of the RFP, the request for proposal, the tender process, or the selection process for the 2 contracts awarded to Gandalf? And then finally I said, I am told market research and polling are not subject to ARB reviews. Are you saying they are? So far, nothing of substance from the Premier's office on these or other questions. Premier Wynne and her government are awarding millions of dollars worth of contracts to her campaign manager. The public has a right to know. And the government has a duty to answer. It's our money being spent. What did we buy with all that cash? I think it's up to Wynne to prove that this wasn't simply a case of political payback.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.